Hello. I'm I just fed my dogs, but I think they're gonna want to pee soon, so I'm gonna wait a little bit until they finish their dinner and then gonna let them out real quick and then I'm gonna get started. Okay. In the meanwhile, oh, I hear my dog shaking. That means he's done eating. I'll be right back after they pee. It's got a smile that seems to me, reminds me of childhood memory where everything was as fresh as a bright blue sky. Now and then when I see her face, she takes me away to that old place, and if it's been too long, probably break down and cry. I have one dream today, and it's to stream a video on my computer because for some reason the audio driver keeps on crashing. So if I could figure that out today, I'd be a very happy man. Oh.
얘들아,
얘들아,
이불 좀
이불 좀
깔아줘.
깔아줘. Okay. Can you hear what I'm saying in this video? If you can confirm for me, I would greatly appreciate it because this stuff is on my computer, so I can't really verify.
어?
어?
이불 좀
이불 좀
깔아줘.
깔아줘.
형아,
야,
이불
이불
갈기
갈기
귀찮아.
귀찮아.
얘들아,
얘들아,
빌리,
빨리
띵아,
내가
이불 좀
이불 좀
깔아줘.
깔아줘. Okay. Were you able to hear that? I hope so. Oh, good. Oh, I solved this video problem. Okay, for some reason, yeah, I couldn't. For some reason, I had this like audio driver conflict forever, and oh, I'm so glad I don't have it anymore. Okay, so now I can show you guys videos. Okay, so we become a streamer one step at a time. All right, so yeah, today. Oh, yeah, I think the echoes. I think is because my both my mic is on and the audio is on. Okay, so I think I can take care of that. Thank you so much. Yay! I'm a happy goose. All right. I woke up feeling absolutely horrible. As you can, I think you can kind of hear it in my voice. Yeah. It's becoming a full on. Um, I think it's Epstein-Barr virus, but yeah, I'm feeling it. But a little personal info. I've been really, my life has been really governed by my fatigue because I was so hyper conscious of being tired like this and sick like this. So at the earliest onset of like me being sick, I would drop everything and then I wouldn't like do anything until I felt better. Um, so the Buddhist practice of cleaning my karma that I'm doing these days has only one goal. It's to be free from my relationship with my body. So my body can be tired and I'm still gonna do all the things that I want to do. Yeah, bilingual dogs. Yeah. To be honest, I'm not sure they really understand English, but yeah, they're pretty cute. Um, so my goal is to kind of break away from this existing relationship with my body, where my body is like fatigued that gets to determine what I do and what I don't do. And so today, like before waking up at 6 a.m., like I woke up a few times because of the pain in my neck and the throat, and so but then I had four coaching sessions today, and I had to go to work. So now in my kind of sleeping, in the midst of my sleep haze, I'm thinking, man, should I just sleep in today? Should I just not do anything? Should I just cancel all my sessions and not go to work? And then during my sleep, I was like, no, my body doesn't get to determine what I do and don't do. So this feeling doesn't indicate that it just indicates that there's a virus in me. It doesn't indicate that I need to stop and drop everything. I'm gonna get everything done. So I met with three clients before work, drove to work, had a meeting, and then ate lunch and hung out with the coworkers. Came back and had one more client, and here I am, still kicking it. Thoughts on the idea that the root of all frustration is unmet expectation. Is that true in your opinion? Unmet expectations. So I think that is hitting a very large vein of suffering. Let me tell you a little bit about that. But before that, again, I say this disclaimer very often. Hi, so everything that I say is contextual to the conversation that I'm having. Everything that I say is relevant to something, right? I don't care if it's me, I don't care if it's Dr. K, I don't care if it's more like authoritative source of everything like that you find like really reliable. No word set in stone is like the truth. Um that's where a lot of the misconceptions happen. Like, oh, this is supposed to be the truth, but it's not. And That's why we have this entire debate around conservatism, not political. Well, to some degree political, but conservative and liberal. What it means is there's a teaching, right? In I think Matthew, the book of Matthew, I think. Is it Luke? I don't know. There's a saying that like when someone wants to go 5 miles, you go 10 miles with them. When someone slaps you, you offer the other cheek, right? And so that is basically meant to illustrate the point of don't let other people determine your narrative. You get to decide what your narrative is. So other people can provide the environment, but you decide to be the owner of your life. So that's the greater context. But now, if we look at that text and say only like what that text says is the only authoritative truth, then like every time you get slapped, you have to open the other because that's what God said to do, right? So this is kind of a silly example, but what I'm about to say, like, and everything that I say in these types of streams, I want you to know that they're all. I come from the perspective that it's all relative and contextual. So you also I ask you to not take everything that I say as for word the truth. So now going back, root of all frustration is unmet expectations, right? So I think that is a very big theme around suffering. And suffering ultimately comes from a lot of expectations. And now it in this case it's worded as expectation, but the interpretation that I am familiar with and the interpretation that I use is attachment, right? So I don't have kids, but suppose I have a kid. When the kid is first born, they can do anything that they want, right? They can poop, they can throw up, they can pee on my face and everything. But they're baby, and they're my baby, and of course they can do that. And now they can do whatever they want, and I will still love them. But what happens as they grow up? I expect and I attach to the idea that you're 5 years old, you should be able to go to the toilet. You're 10 years old, you should be doing well at school. You're a teenager, you should be, going out and meeting people and, having the time of your life. You're a college student, you should be responsible for yourself. So now I have all these attachments and expectations, and my kid is just being a kid. But I get disappointed, and then therefore I get frustrated, right? And and the same thing goes for my dog, right? I don't want my dog to bark, but like so I have this expectation that dogs shouldn't bark. I'm attached to this idea. The idea is in Buddhist terms called image. I have this image of a dog that shouldn't bark, but that only lives in my head, and I cling on to that expectation, and then I feel sad. I'm bummed out. So that's sort of the interpretation that I'm familiar with. And yeah, so the root of all frustration is attachment. Root of all suffering is attachment, and that is basically how I interpreted yours. Yeah. So yeah, loser. That's a pretty big word, right? So I have actually received an email, and I wanted to talk about that today. And in this email, okay. I basically asked ChatGPT to kind of paraphrase this email because I don't want to reveal the writing style of the person who wrote to me. So that's the topic of this video. So I'm gonna start recording because I want to make a separate video about this, and then we're gonna talk about this now. Hey everyone. So today I received an email in the morning, and the email wanted me to kind of like talk about this. So I am taking this opportunity to make a YouTube video about it because I think this topic resonates with a lot of people. And now, I asked ChatGPT to paraphrase this email so that it doesn't reveal the writing style of the person who wrote it. Okay, so hi Billy. I've been grappling with a personal challenge since my younger days, and I was hoping to get your perspective on it. I tend to be highly competitive, and admittedly, I don't take losing well. In gaming terms, I easily become tilted. The issue has been surfacing quite a bit lately, even now at 28. It's something I'm eager to improve on, but I'm at a loss for where to begin. The common advice I receive is to remind myself it's just a game, but that sentiment doesn't seem to resonate with me as it should. My usual response is, but it's a game. I intend to win. Well, it's a game I intend to win. So, just recently, I was in a 2-on-2 basketball game with some friends. There was this one match where my partner was noticeably tired and not fully in it to win it. While I'm decent at basketball, I have my limitations too. Plus, we were up against some rough play from the opposing team, making it both a physical and mental battle. At one point, a hit sent my glasses flying off my face. We ended up losing, and the frustration was palpable for me. It felt like I could have easily, it felt like I could have clinched the game for us if I had just a bit more energy. It took me a good half hour to simmer down, though I wasn't lashing out at anyone, more so just by airing my frustration. I'd really like to move past this tendency as it hampers my enjoyment of competitive games with friends. So, let's talk about this. Um, Number one, these types of behaviors, right? Whether it be like your relationship with competition, whether it be your relationship with losing, you have to understand that in every thing that you're experiencing, there is a reason for it. So now, I'm not talking about some like you know grander purpose thing, right? Oh, there's a greater purpose behind this. That could be true in certain contexts in some cases. But now, what I am saying is, for you, they're inside, not just here, because in here, in your brain, in your cognition, you're aware that this is causing a lot of problems for you. It's not all good, right? But in here, something is really, 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 I don't think it even is like about the winning. Something in here, it's not that this wants to win so much, that's separate. I think inside of here, what is really happening is it can't lose because there are really, really negative consequences for losing. So, if I were talking to you right now in person, then I would ask you, so you lose, right? But like, then it's a familiar feeling that you're going to be feeling. Now, you could take this to the cognitive level, right? So I could ask you, so what does it mean to lose? What does it mean to be not good at something? What does it mean to be seen as a loser? Someone who doesn't win. What consequence did that have in your early life? Like, were you punished for not winning? Was there someone who was more celebrated than you because they won, and in relative terms, it made you feel really bad? Were you really not noticed when you were winning? Or were you really neglected when you were losing? And things like that. Those are in the cognition level. We could talk a little bit about that. But more than that, I want you to think a little bit about, in terms of the feeling. When you lose, you didn't, well, literally say this, but frustration is palpable for you, right? Which means it's a familiar feeling. You're able to identify it, that this distinct strand of frustration, and you're able to distinguish it from other types of frustration. So when you take that feeling and ask yourself, when did I feel this before? It's usually an experience that hasn't been fully digested, and it usually happens in childhood because you have the body to kind of contain the feeling, but you don't have the rationalization to justify that feeling. So that's the recommended way I would do it if I were in a session with you. But now, um, just speaking in terms of like Buddhist philosophy. Yeah, so you become tilted, right? But why is that such a problem? Like everything is has a flip side to it, right? Because nothing exists in a vacuum. Your high competition your high competitive spirit probably explains why you're decent at something. So the kind of constant strive to be excellent at something is probably innate in your personality, and therefore you can't kind of take the only the goods of something, right? So for example, if I go to Starbucks and I get a cup of coffee, then I need to pay, right? If I get my coffee and I don't pay, I'm a thief, I'm stealing. So there has to be an exchange. Now you have to identify whether or not it's like, yeah, this actually is a fairly good side to me, but at the same time, it comes with this side effect. And now I can choose to believe that this being tilted is a cost to pay. And as long as I have healthy ways of expressing this frustration, and as long as I understand why I'm frustrated, then now it becomes easier to rationalize. And then when your head and your heart are in one place, it's sort of easy to digest. And now that's the way of kind of like living without changes, right? You accept the part of you, um, all parts of you. You accept the good part of you, which makes you competitive, therefore, which gives you a lot of motivation to do skill development and repetition. Because guess what? A lot of people lack that, right? A lot of people want to try one, two times. If it doesn't work, they want to quit. For you, it's not the case. So it's a resource for you. At the same time, because of that nature, you get tilted. And that's okay. So that's one way of looking at it. Second way is to, we were talking about this when Feltri was talking about unmet expectations. Um, you stop viewing losing as losing. So when you're drilling, right? Suppose like you have drills in basketball, right? Now when you fail in a drill, it's frustrating, but you know that it's like what you need exactly in the next step of your development, right? So for example, your like dribble drills are not really going good, but yeah, then if you can't be good at that, how do you expect to play like ball in a real game? You free throws doesn't work for you in practice. Good, which means you gotta work on your free throws so that it works for you during mid game, right? So when you treat like the loss as evidence of for future skill growth areas, then you know what? I think that reframing makes it into like double good. You have the competitive drive, and also you can identify exactly where you need to improve. So now you have two resources. So that's sort of the recommendation that I would give for this scenario. But I understand. Um, Losing can be frustrating, but I also want to really congratulate you because, yeah, you become tilted and you become salty, but at the same time, you don't like lash out. And you know how many people lash out? If you play online games with the chat function, and I think you would understand. So it's not all bad, and those that's my 2 cents around being hyper competitive and being a sore loser. You're not a loser. It's just in the grand scheme of things, it's just an area of skill development that you that can really benefit you because now you get analysis. All right. See you in the next video. Okay, recording is complete. Hi, Corporal Hitman. Yep, Feltree says meaning of loser has drastically changed as popular inception. Used to be more literal. Oh, oh, I didn't even know that. Now that's really sad. Yeah, now it's that like Mean Girls kind of a semantics these days, right? It's like, oh yeah, like loser. Also, this is a thing that happened in Korea. Um, how do you get a job with no social skills? Corporal Hitman, um, you're here, you're initiating conversation with me. I wouldn't take that as no social skill. So if you had no social skills, I don't think you would be chatting here. So I'm not trying to like dismiss your experience. So if there is no social skills, then I truly think it's impossible because you need to talk to people in order to get a job, right? you need to apply and you need to eventually meet and talk to people. But if you literally can't do that, online is different. That might exactly be where the discrepancy is, because I think online is the same, but now it's a facade layer, right? Something that I realized yesterday is yesterday before Kaylee and a bunch of people said hi, it was really awkward for me to stream because I felt like so out of place. And then Kaylee and other people like Bobo, I think they said hi, and then now I felt like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna think that they're sort of in the room with me, and then now I'm able to kind of get into, I'm able to settle down into that kind of feeling, and so as someone with experience in shifting the mindset, I can tell you that it depends on your perspective. But now meeting you where you are, I can tell that online is different. So offline, what makes social skills hard? Because while this is a common problem, not everybody has the same difficulty. Like, what makes it stressful for you? Like, what makes developing social skills, what makes going out difficult for you? And then we can talk a little bit more about that. Wow, I'm really parched. But anyway, in Korea there was this talk show, right, where they hosted a bunch of like college girls as panelists, and then they were talking about like the contemporary urban like 20s life. And then one of the ladies was like, yeah, if you're a guy and you're shorter than 6 feet, then you're a loser. Like she literally said like loser in the English loser in Korean, and so that was like a whole thing in Korea, which kind of I think became the starting point for a lot of misogyny in Korea. But anyway, I'm intimidating looking and act awkward so people feel tense. Oh, okay, so like you have some like stature and you act awkward. So you think other people feel tense, right? So, Corporal Hitman, what's happening right now is you're letting other people determine your social experience. And now, I want to ask you, I want to ask you to kind of reverse that, okay? So, other people can do whatever they want. And that is sort of universally true. I'm here on YouTube and I, talk a lot about like this life stuff. You guys enjoy it, you guys come to my channel, you guys watch my videos, leave comments, good, right? But there are people who are like, bullcrap, this guy fucking sucks. And I can't stop those people from living their free life and having their free judgments about me. So I understand that I cannot be universally liked. But the thing is, if I let that control me, I can't have a YouTube channel. I can't be a life coach. I can't have a job, like you said. So, understanding that even if you look like Brad Pitt in his 20s, even if you look like, God, I'm so out of touch with everything. I don't even know who's like attractive these days. But like, yeah, you can't stop everyone. You can't have everyone like you. So, yeah, you're right, right? So in terms of getting a job, it matters what other people decide at least employer and interviewer wise. So now you understand. You have a power hierarchy, right? Other people with employment powers have power over you. They feel more powerful. They're siphoning your personal power to them. So what I'm saying is a job is it for you it's money, right? But for people who are looking to hire, it's a real work problem. Because if they can't hire, then that means there's like this much backlog of work that just keeps on getting not done. And suppose you work at McDonald's, right? If nobody wants to work there, like that manager cannot have a like job. So employment is actually a lot of power is held in you too. It doesn't have to be like union related stuff. You deciding to work there actually solves a lot of problem for the employer. You've seen these days there's a lot of text exchanges about like, toxic bosses, right? And so when you see those toxic bosses screenshots, you see that for the toxic bosses, the people who don't show up because of vacation, it's a real stress for them. It's a real problem for them. So you have the power. Yeah, you can't even get a job in McDonald's. You live in NYC. Yeah. So, but there are people who live in NYC who have a job, right? And so right now, your internal image of yourself, you don't see yourself that way. And I'm not asking you to change in one conversation. I'm asking you to consider what makes you so different from other intimidating looking guys who are awkward. Because there are intimidating guys who act awkward, who have jobs. But what, in your mind, what makes you so unemployable? Because that's a self perception. And I want you to know that, like, all the abilities that you need in order to get a job is already in here. But in order to access it, you have to see yourself as an employable person. You have to see yourself as a actionable person, right? If you don't see yourself as that, of course your actions are going to reflect this. So I can't ship you a new brain part, right? I can't sign you up for a surgery that'll make you look less intimidating. Unfortunately, a lot of people do plastic surgery for that reason, right? But that just changes external appearances. So that just like and there's no brain part I can give you. There's no injection or pill I can give you in order to change your mind. You will be employed in the future. And in the future, that skill set that you use, the mindset that you use to be employed, it's already in here, but it's just that you can't access it when you don't even consider yourself an employable person. So I'm asking you, like, what self-image, what self-perception do you have about yourself that makes you unemployable, can't even get a job in McDonald's, so to speak? Yeah, this is actually super common in the realm of coaching too. A lot of people have the coaching skills, but they don't believe that they can coach, so they don't go out for offers. Okay, good. Okay, good. You feel like you can do any job, but you just don't have the ability to communicate well, right? You think you have autism. Okay, good, right. So again, I'm asking you to connect to your personal power. Okay? So, would it be good if you could communicate well and if you felt like you communicate well? Yes, it would feel really good. Would it be good for you if you felt like you were neurotypical and you didn't have autism? Yeah. But reality is, you feel like right now you don't have the ability to communicate well and you think you have autism, right? But now, that's just a situation you're in, but it's not a legitimate and real reason you're stuck here. So now, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. That's saying, right? So you have this situation. You're a chef. You're in your pantry. You want the best quality onions. You want the best quality steak. You want the best quality mushroom. But unfortunately, the market ran out of fresh ingredients, so you have stale onions, you have subprime beef, and you have mushrooms that are don't kind of smell that as fragrant. What do? Do you just stop cooking? you can still do something with this, right? It may not be as good as like if you had all the perfect ingredients, but it doesn't mean that it's a reason for you to stop. Yeah, so you don't have any work experience. So nobody starts with work experience, right? So we all have to start somewhere. So just for the sake of developing your communication skill, just for the sake of getting work experience, try working for free. Try going to volunteering things just for getting reps in for communication, just for getting reps in to write something down in your resume. Offer to volunteer, offer to work for free, try to shadow someone. And those things will really help you actually do something about it, right? Like you don't have the ability to communicate well, so are you not gonna communicate ever, right? You gotta do something in order to address this, right? Are you going to stop living life because you have autism? You have to do something about it, right? So my advice, at this level, you feel like the entry level jobs are too intimidating, right? Good. Then let's go down even one more. Do volunteer work. They're always gonna want people, right? You know how many volunteer things, shelters and like things like that. They're all so short staffed these days. When you show up, it's a win-win. It's not only an experience for you to get the communication skill reps in, force yourself to talk. You're in here volunteering for a reason, right? Take advantage of that. For the volunteering people, it's so good because we have this really big person who's like helping out, right? So what example of volunteer work can you do? Okay. Oh, so good. Such a good conversation. So, Corporal Hitman, what made you sad in your life? In your life, like, what were some of the big like downs you experienced? What made you really, really like unhappy? Suppose it's bullying, right? Until you give me a more specific answer, I'm gonna go with bullying. So suppose you were bullied as a kid, then you know how much bullying hurts in terms of first person experience, right? So wouldn't it be great if you could utilize your first person experience to help other people? So there's like support groups for bullying, right? I'm gonna look some up. Yep, so Google indicates, where is this? Stomp Out Bullying. It's on 220 East 57th Street, New York. Stomp Out Bullying, right? And more than that, you can look for NYC volunteer, bullying volunteer, and there are volunteer opportunities or anti-bullying. Turn to Us and service in schools in the NYC public schools. So there are definitely options for you to do that. In terms of where can I do what volunteer work can I do? I would look for the things that really hurt you in the past and use it as an opportunity to change other people's lives. Feltree says he would argue that the role negative reinforcement plays in how well you can socialize and how developed your social skills are has been find the community. Yep, value my opinion and presence more than I would normally expect. Yeah. So Corporal Hitman, like this can be your perfect community, right? And I never talked about this, but I have a Discord too. So if you need someone to talk to, you can email me at billy@julylifecoach.com. You can come to my Discord server that I'm really trying to find the link to. And yeah, like if you need someone to give you support so that you can kind of develop that skill of community, yeah, like I have a bunch of other coaches in my Discord channel, so you can kind of like use that as an opportunity to like I can ask coaches who are willing to do pro bono work to like just talk with you, and then it can be a good experience. All right, Francis. Hello. Hi. Itachi is in the server. Isn't that badass? Imagine if actual Itachi came. Yep, you can do volunteer work, but I also need money urgently. Yep, so uh, that's why these types of problems tend to be high pressure, right? So you need money urgently, of course. Then you have to make a compromise. Uh, if you need money urgently, then you gotta look at short-term development. Then you gotta challenge yourself. So we can't have it all, right? Ideally, it would be nice if we could have it all, but it sometimes it just doesn't happen. And relying on the universe to give us everything at the same time, we can't rely on that. So if you need money urgently, then you can't really afford to take the time, and so challenge yourself. Um, like even if you're not gonna go volunteer like that day, just go to a shelter, go to a like homeless place, go to like the stop bullying center. Just go there and then start talking to people. Like, what's your schedule like? How can I just learn more information about it? Come home, just practice that. Francis, unfortunately, I do not have a schedule at this moment, but I'm hoping to make it more consistent. I'm thinking it's gonna be more around nighttime California, but I understand most people are in Eastern or Central, but yeah, I want to be more consistent, but unfortunately, because of like my work schedule, my client schedule, I can't be sure when I'm gonna be consistently live. Okay. Uh, yeah, I'm a little hot, so I am going to take off this sweater, and I'll be right back. Ugh. Oh, for now, you don't talk about. What do you talk about in the volunteer center? Like, yeah, just ask them about their schedule. Ask what kind of help they provide, what kind of help you can provide, and just ask questions about if I were to volunteer, like, what's the process? Can you give me a form? Even if you're not interested in volunteering, like, at that moment, just get that rep in, and then build that relationship first, and then ask, can I have your name card? Do you have a website? How can I get in touch with you? Okay, my name is blah 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 blah, and then I may touch out in the future. So start forming those types of relationships is a good starting point. And if enough like YouTube, Reddit, like basically people who aren't my students in my other program, if enough of those people join the Discord, then I actually have a plan to kind of host some like social round robins. Like, it's like speed dating, but I'm just gonna invite a bunch of people on Zoom, put them all in breakout groups, and then have them go through like a 5 minute conversation, come out together, share the experience, and then go into the next one, and then go into the next one. Um, I'm hoping to do that in the future when I'm growing, if the Discord channel grows with more with non-students. Okay. Oh, I have a headache. Oh, temp agency, yeah. Unfortunately, I know nothing about temp agency, so this is the power of community, right? Yeah. I think that can be a really good idea. It's like the office. Gonna be like Ryan. NYC temp agency. Oh, they'll be finding you work? Jeez. Wait, what's the trade-off in temp agencies then? Like, how do temp agencies make money? Huh. Based on what Tree is saying, it doesn't seem like you pay. I think you applied. I'm looking at a website right now. I think you apply to join the like network of freelance people, and then they kind of like figure out the matchmaking, so to speak. But I don't know. I think this is like IT stuff. Uh oh, temp agencies NIC entry level. Okay. So corporal hitman. What are your interests? Like what job like ideally would you like to have? Because I think that's a big piece of the conversation that's missing right now. I think there's also like a okay. Anything? Okay. Yeah, there's like plenty of opportunities in here. I think like data entry tends to be one of the popular ones because it's a lot of like human int it's a human intensive work that's like basically really busy work. Yeah, entry level data entry jobs. Wow. Disney's hiring this, huh? Yeah. If you could search for these, I think these can yeah, a lot of tech companies have the data entry jobs. But yeah, I gotta warn you though, these will be very mind numbing. But hey, you're making your ends meet. Sometimes you've gotta bite the bullet. Uh, oh, while I'm waiting, I'm gonna upload the video that I shot earlier today. Man, work today was so depressing. I think there's something about like putting a bunch of people in a room with no windows and then talking about like really abstract things that have nothing to do with the real world that makes it so depressing. What was my first job? The true Asian experience. My first job was a tutor. Um, I happened to be pretty good at academics, so I since junior year I started tutoring like freshman kids, and then senior year uh pretty much all year tutoring, and then I worked at a SAT school and did a lot of private tutoring. After I got into college, I went to Cornell. Cornell being a pretty good school, got a lot of like students, so did a lot of SAT tutoring. And then in college, I worked. I also did a lot of web development in my early days as a hobby. So freshman year, for the Nanobiotechnology Center at Cornell, I did a website design, and then my sophomore junior year, I worked at the Cornell's like the web design web development agency, and then I did work there. And then after graduation, I worked at that this was after graduation was my after my master's degree in computer science. So I worked at Naver, which is like the Google of Korea, and I worked on a bunch of things. I worked on a Google Sheets competitor, which got scrapped. Um, and then I worked on Google, their Korea's version of Apple Books, like the ebook reader. And then I didn't want to do like application development, so I transitioned into the big data world. So I did speech generation, speech synthesis, and then I eventually did speech recognition. And then with that experience, I went to Apple and I worked on Siri, speech recognition in Korean, especially the language model part. And then I got I ventured outside of the language world and more into the big data world. So I went to Foursquare, the app that you use to check in. Um, so worked there on their recommendation systems for recommending venues and stuff like that. And then went into data infrastructure, and so now I'm working at Disney doing data infrastructure. This may be a pivot, but do you have any advice for someone who has been living a very sedentary lifestyle that's caused him to get in horrible physical shape and struggles with exercise? I don't think you're gonna like this, man. Man or woman. But yeah, I do have a recommendation for you. It's called uh 108 prostrations. So it's a Buddhist practice in Mahayana Buddhism, which is largely popular in China, Korea, and Japan. But it's basically in the morning, you bow 108 times. Walking is also a great, but bowing has the benefit of being a not a full body thing. So what I do every morning is 108 reps of this. This constitutes as one, and I do 108 of this every morning at 6 a.m. Now, you don't have to go as hardcore as that. You don't have to wake up at 6 a.m., but I highly recommend the 108 bows because of three reasons. Um, Number one, it's voluntary. Number two, it's humanly possible. But at the same time, number three, it's challenging. So those three are the three elements I look for in a challenge. And through this, you're gonna meet a lot of resistance. Like at the 30th bow, you're gonna want to quit. It's okay, then just quit. But now you have a standard in which to kind of measure your progress in, right? And so for me, it's been like 2, 3 months since I started this. So I did it even today morning. So you want to get started in being kind of like active with yourself, then I would recommend nothing more than 108 bells. Francis, we talked about Buddhist philosophy, and I don't know much about it, but Buddhism is fascinating to me, just like Stoic philosophy. Yeah, I think it does have a lot of connections with Stoic philosophy. Yeah, you often overlook the big picture, overthink everything, and fixate on insignificant things. What you said to me brought peace to me. Yep, no worries. It's my pleasure. Demon Slayer and Buddhist. Yeah, I'm actually rereading Demon Slayer for like the 10th time. My wife is looking at me. I'm like, you're rereading that? I'm like, it's so good. Um, yeah, Buddhism and Stoicism really fascinate me. Could you maybe talk about what you learned about your experiences pertaining to your Buddhist studies, just to hoping to learn from you? Yep, I can definitely do that. Um, I'm gonna bring some books. So my relationship with Buddhism actually started with it's the most recent iteration of the development in my coaching, right? So my coaching modalities went from this modality called the model, and then after that I faced limitations with this model, so I went on to learn something called the meta pattern, and then I faced limitations there, so I went through a modality called unshaming. And on top of that, I started looking at Buddhism. So, why Buddhism? It's because Buddhism, I think, is the only, Buddhist philosophy is the only approach that recognizes the coexistence of what you make the problem and you. So, the typical modality of coaching, right, is like, oh, like feel all of your feelings and then choose what you want in life, and those are all things that I advocate for, right? But now, suppose you want healing, right? Suppose you want like a dramatically different life. Yeah. So you want to be always be calm and pragmatic, right? So like anybody else, when people come to me and they want to sign a contract with me for one-on-one coaching, whether it be for a month, whether it be for 6 months, they have a problem that they walk in with. So whether it be like PTSD, whether it be loneliness, whether it be like like whatever purpose, lost purpose in life, and things like that. What people in that state typically think is when they're solved, then they won't feel like this anymore at all. But that is never, I think I can say never, that's never the case. True changes come from a lot of like reflection about redefining the experience of it. This is something now I know from the Buddhist perspective, but now before I realized Buddhism, before I recognized and really studied Buddhism in depth, I would have clients come back to me every session, every session, every session, every session, every session. Same issue. But the thing is, every time we talk, we have a pretty good conversation. They feel things, they recognize things, they learn things, but it doesn't fundamentally shift. And this is as a new coach, this is a very frustrating experience for me because obviously I want the lives of my clients to feel like good, right? And so this kept on happening where people seek to do this 180, but they can't. So they keep thinking that they are broken. And now I turn the eye to like a beyond my clients. I look at the coaching world in general. I look at the therapy world in general. I look at the mental health market in general. It's full of people who think that they need to be fixed, and when they get fixed, they won't, like, they're gonna remove that part of the brain. No coaching modality that I've experienced is like actually clearly defines your ideal relationship with what you consider your problem than Buddhist philosophy. That's why I was drawn to it. So I completely understood after some point. And then I started telling my clients, you want to never feel that again, right? I gotta tell you right now, that's impossible. But what we're gonna work towards is you feeling that feeling, you thinking that, but at the same time, it's just okay. We're gonna reach that state. So now the goal is different. The goal isn't to like make this meaningful. The goal isn't to learn from it. The goal isn't to like like not feel like this. Those are kind of the stepping stones to the ultimate attainment of my suffering that comes from my childhood experience is nothing different from my desire to eat a cheeseburger right now. And that comes with a lot of other like nuances that I'm not telling you right now, but that's why I was drawn to it. But let me talk about these things. Where's a good place to improve social skills without looking suspicious? I think there should be some like well, online groups that already kind of do this. Uh, yeah, I think when you go to Meetup, not worldwide. Meetup is the service that hosts that allows people to host like meetups and things like that. Uh, wait, what? I'm so confused. Why is it giving me like why is it giving me London and NYC? Yeah, things like this exist. Like NYC social skills and confidence building group meeting. Yeah. Wow, it's a public group with a lot of people. So if you could show up to these at least once and then form like at least like 5 connections and then use them to kind of be like you don't need to go to this big meeting every time, right? If you can make some personal connections there and be like, hey man, is it okay if I kind of like want to practice with you because I feel intimidated by these like really large groups, and a lot of communication has to do with like transparency and honesty. So I would look into those. Okay, so the two sutras that are kind of core to my studies that I'm always thinking about. And when I say I'm always thinking about, I don't exaggerate. I literally dream about these sutras. Um, One sutra is the Heart Sutra, and I think I did a whole talk about this in my YouTube channel, right? But the Heart Sutra, I think, sets the ground for what really frees your life from all suffering. And when you have the understanding that comes from the Heart Sutra, and you can be liberated from your suffering, then now, if the core of the Heart Sutra is there's no reason to suffer, right? Okay, so a lot of people mistake that for, oh, there's no reason to suffer. Then why doesn't everything feel good? Everything is pointless. Everything has no inherent value. Then what's the point of being alive? A lot of people go into that, right? But again, that's you attaching to this idea that life always has to be good. It's not always, it is always good, but it's not always good for you for free. So what's the cost? The cost is your ability and willingness to change your perspective, right? So if I have an onion, right? If I only know French onion soup, like when I look at an onion, it's an ingredient for a French onion soup and nothing else. But if I know Mexican cooking, it's like an ingredient for like pico de gallo, right? If I can, if I do a lot of Korean cooking, then it's a good like broth, like it's good as a bedding for like kalbi and things like that, right? So when I truly understand that onion is like a versatile thing that can be used in any way, I can pick and decide how to use that onion, right? So that's the kind of a modality that you expand on, right? So this battery for a GoPro, is it useful or not? Like, is there a GoPro that's out of battery? Good, then it's useful. But without the GoPro, if I just have the battery, it's useless. Is this big or small? Compared to my cell phone, it's small. Compared to my fingernail, it's big. So I can see that this battery has no, just like the onion, it's versatile. But going one step beyond that, there's no inherent quality to this. The qualities that I see in this GoPro is inside of my mind. And it depends on my perspective in which I view this GoPro battery. Same goes for this pen. Is this pen useful? Depends. Do I need to write something and does it have ink? Is this useful? If I'm not writing anything, it has no use. If it's out of ink, it has no use. But what if I'm in a self-defense situation and I need to stab someone with it? Then it's useful, right? So again, the pen has no inherent qualities. It's all in here, and that is up to my perspective. Now, you apply that to one level deeper. I'm sick right now. I have a bit of a fever. I have a bit of a headache, and my body is a little bit like frail, feeling frail, and I have a sore throat. Now, depending on my perspective, that's a reason for me to stop streaming and go take a nap. But depending on my perspective, it's a nuisance and nothing more. So the experience that I have in my body, there are no inherent qualities to it because it just depends on perspective. Yes, Kaylee, that is exactly what I do with my chronic pain patients. I've had a client with type 1 diabetes. I've had a client with chronic heart conditions. And the practice, like the coaching sessions for those are simple. We just sit down and talk about different ways of interpreting chronic issues. So I have a video on my YouTube channel about my eczema, right? I have eczema. Depending on my perspective, it's the most annoying fucking thing in the world because it's always so fucking itchy and it's like oozing like pus out all the time. But depending on my perspective now, it's a reminder for me to hand cream. And it's automatic. Isn't it neat? It's a reminder to put on gloves when I'm washing the dishes. And it's automatic. It literally tells me, hey, Billy, you should wear gloves. Oh, thanks, body. Right? But if I tell you to do it when you're not buying it, that's like abusive. When you can come to this understanding yourself, that's when it can start to transform your lives. So, like going to Corporal Hitman's like case, right? Corporal Hitman thinks he has no social skills. So that thought by itself has no inherent quality to it. It feels limiting to Corporal Hitman because his perspective is what makes it so. But depending on Corporal Hitman's perspective, he can still have that thought of like, oh, I have no social skills. But you know what? I didn't know how to walk, but I walked. I didn't know how to talk, but I talked. I didn't know how to write, but I learned. I didn't know how to do math, but I learned. So, nothing different. So Corporal Hitman can think of his perspective, his thought of, I can't have social skills, I can't get a job, and choose to view it in a perspective that benefits Corporal Hitman. But that only comes when Corporal Hitman realizes that the thought has no inherent quality to it. I suck. That sentiment has no inherent negative quality. The feeling bad has no inherent quality. It's bad because I define this experience to be bad. So, the Heart Sutra is all about that. It's actually really short. Let me actually show you. I don't know why my default font is this. It's so weird. Um, okay, sorry. I'm like super angry at you guys for no reason. Okay, so the Heart Sutra is the insight that brings us to the other shore. This is translation by Thich Nhat Hanh. Avalokiteshvara a is a figure who's very revered in the Buddhist world. He's basically like a saint, known for compassion. You know how like Christianity has angels for like different things. It's Avalokiteshvara is like the Buddhist one for compassion and like generosity. So when Avalokiteshvara was practicing deeply with this insight that brings us to the other shore, Avalokiteshvara suddenly had this reckoning that all of the five skandhas are equally empty. They have no inherent quality. And with this realization, he overcame all ill being. So, what are the five skandhas? Let's talk about that. Sariputra is the student who is listening to this sermon, so to speak. Sariputra, this body itself is emptiness. There's no inherent quality to this body, and emptiness itself is the body. Now, I point to my body, but body here means the physical existence of something, the physical existence of something, the physical existence of something. This existence is the same as emptiness. This trips a lot of people up. Why? Because how can you say this doesn't exist? It's like clearly here. So the metaphor that's commonly used is a room full of balloons. When you have a room full of balloons, is it full? You could argue that it's full, right? But at the same time, the balloons are all empty. So you could argue that it's not full, it's empty, right? So that paradox is what this sutra is about. Existence is void and void is existence. Existence is not other than void, and the void is not other than existence. And the same is true of feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. Sariputra, all phenomena bear the mark of emptiness. Their true nature in the nature, no birth, no death. So what does this mean? Like clearly I'm born, therefore I die, right? But the thing is, all my life is just a recomposition of biomaterials that were in my parents' body once, right? But when I look at it from the perspective of that's birth, that's life, I'm assigning inherent qualities to it. But the awakening that Avalokiteshvara had is that that is just a definition that lives in my head, and therefore it doesn't reflect actual reality. So when you look at that perspective, there's no birth, no death, there's no being, non being, there's no defilement or purity, there's no increasing or decreasing. So in this void, body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, consciousness, they're all like they're not separate self entities. They have no inherent qualities. Six organs, six senses, six consciousness, they're not they have no separate inherent qualities. 12 links of interdependent arising and their extinctions. Ill being, causes of ill being, end of ill being, the path inside, they're all void. And when you see this, there's nothing more to attain. Because this is the ultimate liberation. So bodhisattvas who practice this insight see no more obstacle in their mind. Because there's no more obstacles, there's no fear. And because there's no fear, they destroy all wrong perceptions and they get a chance to meet and encounter nirvana. And that is the core of the Heart Sutra. So now we know, okay, good. We have liberated ourselves from suffering. Okay, so what do I do with my life? And that is the Diamond Sutra. That's the topic of the Diamond Sutra. And the Diamond Sutra is all about images and how we form images in our head, how we form representation of things in our head. So, for example, Kaylee is talking to me, right? Corporal Hitman is talking to me. Francis is talking to me. Feltry is talking to me. So I have an internal representation of them, right? But I actually don't know any of your faces. But I think I know you. I think I'm talking to you. But that's an image I have, right? If I don't recognize this image and I think that all of you are my viewers and I start attaching to this idea that you guys will be here all the time, then I get disappointed when you don't show up. I get disappointed when you don't chat. So, Feltry, I think, said, yeah, it's unmet expectations because I start forming attachment to these images. And when I form attachment to images, that's when all the suffering starts. Because what I'm attaching to is not giving me what I want back, and it becomes a transactional thing. So I argue transaction is okay, especially when it's related to other things in the world, right? But you have to understand transaction mindset with the world, you're gonna be on the losing end a lot because the world doesn't bend to your will. So Diamond Sutra is all about when you attain the knowledge that everything is void, how do you live life? The life that you live is unattached giving. You are giving to the world. You are in service of other people. But at the same time, you don't consider it an act of service. Because as soon as you consider it an act of service, you start forming attachments to it. And you start thinking, oh, I did good in this world. And when other people criticize me for it, I get ungrateful, right? How dare they? So that's not true giving. That's not true compassion. True giving, true compassion makes you happy. And it's only that when you don't even realize that you're giving and you're being compassionate. Buddhism is all about paradoxes, right? So the Diamond Sutra is no different. Yeah, it is an interesting. It's a fascinating way of viewing things, and that's why I'm so deeply invested in it now. And you know, I see people like Francis who joined the channel because of Buddhist philosophy, and I'm just super happy that's the case because yeah, I could like this YouTube channel and my coaching practice in general. There's so many ways to kind of like cater to the mass and cater to the popular kind of topics. I could talk about sex all the time. I could talk about all these different kind of like popular topics. I could react to things, but ultimately, I want to use some of those aspects to draw new people in, but my long game is to talk more about like self-development and training your will so that you live the life that you want to live without depending on other people, without depending on external circumstances to help you. You get to live your life regardless of what you do, right? That's the life I want everybody to have. And so that's a long game I'm playing, and I'm glad you're here to kind of experience it with me. Okay. I want to today morning I after I bowed, there was a wonderful view, and I want to quickly share that with you. Hey, that rhymes. Yeah, this was my why is it so? Yeah, this was my morning view today after bowling. Um, Waking up early in the morning and then watching the sun rise and be colorful like this, it's so cool. Oh yeah, I went to work today, right? So my work is really depressing. The building has like no windows, but sometimes you have cool stuff like this. So wanted to share that. Yeah, Francis, anytime. Yeah, the Disney corporate is really not magical at all. Yeah, but I think I'm gonna need to show up at work every Wednesday or at least every other week Wednesday. So maybe I can shoot some more stuff at work and then show you guys what life is like at Disney from the engineering perspective. Okay, I think I discussed everything that I want to discuss today, so I'm going to, well, crap. It's 7 p.m. and I need to walk my dogs. So, and I've been on for 1 and 26 minutes. I'm gonna stay 4 more minutes to just to hit the 1 minute, 1 hour and 30 minute mark, and then I'm gonna go walk my dogs because they are poopers and they will want to poop. Party pooper. Harder, better, faster, and stronger. Yep, I hope so too. I'll try to announce in the community when I'm gonna be going live so that at least there's some level of consistency. But thanks for sticking around, and I hope to be more consistent. Consistent. Oh, neck. All right. Good night. I've been working at Disney for 6 years. It's been that long. Am I reaching my seventh year? Yeah. Oh crap. Holy crap. Yeah, this April it's gonna be 7 years. Crazy. You know, Disney is one of those places where people work for a really long time and when I worked at Apple, when I worked, Apple is a little bit different. Apple has long tenured like people there, but like yeah, when I worked at Foursquare, it wasn't like that. And all the other tech companies generally have this like short retention time. But yeah, Disney is crazy. I've I've seen some people with like service recognition for like 50 years. 50 years in one company? Holy crap. It's and I thought like 5 years was long, but 50 years in one company? Oh, blows my mind. Okay, all right. I wrote my email that I was writing, and I'm gonna go walk my poopy dogs. All right, have a good night, and thanks for joining. And I'll talk to you. I hope tomorrow, but we'll see.